Save on Cox Internet when you add Cox Mobile and get fiber-powered internet at home and unbeatable 5G reliability on the go. So whether you're playing a game at home,
yes, goal,
or attending one live, you can do more without spending more. Learn how to save at cox.com/internet. Cox Internet is connected to the premises via coaxial cable. Cox Mobile runs on the network with unbeatable 5G reliability as measured by Ookla LLC in the U.S. 2H 2023. Results may vary, not an endorsement. Other restrictions apply.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. Welcome back to another episode on the Islamic Feelings podcast. I am so grateful to have you join me. I hope you guys are having an incredible day, an incredible night, wherever you are. This episode's going to be another late night talks episode because this is y'all's favorite. I try to read my DMs and whatever requests I get the most, that's what I try to do. So if you have a request idea for me or just something you think would be good to talk about, feel more than free to DM me on Instagram, Islamic Feelings with 2 S. And yeah, I like to read them and I like to see what y'all have in mind because, of course, you know, I don't want to just be yapping and y'all are like, that's not what we had in mind, girl. I want to give you something you had in mind. So, inshallah, late night talk series, if you want to participate, of course, I post the Q&A boxes every once in a while on my Instagram story, or you can just DM me a topic, and it's just like a rapid fire of topics that my listeners have sent. We just have some good little late night talks together, am I right? So here we go. Ooh, also wait, before we begin, intermission, pause already. Before we begin, one, thank you for always listening to my podcast. Guys, I am not falling off the face of the planet. Life is just lifing, you know? So the thing here is this. I read my DMs and they're always so sweet. Like my DMs always make my heart flutter and I'm like, wow. You know, the girls being my DMs being so nice, being so sweet, being so loving. I be feeling all the love in my DMs and I've, alhamdulillah, super grateful. And like sometimes I'll read DMs and be like, oh, your last episode was, you know, blank months ago. And I've been waiting every day since you haven't uploaded. And I'm like, guys, I don't think my podcast, I don't think I'm that interesting to listen to, that you guys are waiting for me to drop another episode. But for the people that have DM'd me saying that they're waiting, you're so cute. Thank you. I am, inshallah, you know, I hope that I didn't disappoint. Secondly, I'm sorry. I feel like, okay, let's be honest. I sometimes feel like the frequent listeners know, if you listen to my podcast episodes often, you know that sometimes I'll have like weeks where it'll be like episode after episode. It'll be like bros just cooking. Like it'll just be consistent, right? And then I'll like go ghost for like 3 months, 5 months, and like nothing. And then I'll start to get DMs and people are like, hey, like, I thought you said you're going to start being more consistent. And like I always say I'm sorry, but it might happen again. Because when it comes to this, guys, life is lifing. And I wish I could say that, like, podcasting isn't like the only thing I do. So, you know, when like life be really lifing outside of that, like, you know, all the other things that you have to do as an adult. It's really hard because this is like a fun little hobby that I like to do. So I try my best to make time for it. And inshallah, I'm hoping that as the months go on, some things will get more cleared up. So I'll have more time to record. But just know that it's always appreciated and I don't do it intentionally. Like, it's never like, oh, I'm just too lazy to record. No, bro. Like, it's just so much going on. But y'all are always super understanding. So it's all good. But I just want to say it doesn't go unacknowledged. I'm super grateful. But anyway, now that we got that out the way, let's go with our first one from Instagram. Are you planning to start a YouTube channel? Guys, I already have one. Shameless promo. I already got one. There's like nothing on it besides what's on my podcast. It's just video podcast. Like, here's the thing, guys. I've had many people. I love to vlog. Like, let's address the elephant in the room. I love to vlog. Like, I'm a vlogger at heart. In another life, I was a vlogger. Let me tell you, I love to vlog. Just set up the camera and yap. Like, this is my time. Skincare routine at night. It's a whole get unready with me. You know, getting ready in the morning. It's a whole get ready with me vlog. Like, in another life, I was a vlogger. Okay, I'm telling you, I was a chronic vlogger. However, in this life, I'm not. Okay? And that's because I personally don't show my face I don't post pictures of myself and whatnot. So the vlogging life for me is very limited. I have like 2, 3 friends, and like I'll send them vlogs, and we send each other vlogs, and that's how I get like my little vlogger era out. I have gotten before that people would ask like if I'm gonna start a YouTube channel, and I have gotten that consistently, which is why I started a YouTube channel, but it just has like my podcast videos on there, not like actual content, nothing different. It's like the same thing, just podcast videos. And guys, in this life, that's what it's gonna be, unless something changes. But I don't ever really like intend on showing my face. And that's also another question I've gotten a lot, especially like with listeners that I've had that are new. And I feel like, see, there's like a lot of layers to this. Now we're sidetracking, aren't we? I feel like the thing here is this, is that like I have gotten a lot of questions as to why I don't choose to show my face on social media. And I feel like there's a lot of reasons behind it. Number one being that I just personally follow the opinion that you shouldn't. Number two, I feel like I personally don't think that it's the best route. I'm not going to criticize anyone that does do it, each to their own. This is my personal opinion. I'm personally not comfortable with it. And then of course, like three, like I try my best to make my podcast like, of course, dawa, but also like more lighthearted discussions where we can kind of have reflections and talk about these different things. And I don't ever want it to really be about like my face and me and like there's no need for that. I guess like the way that I see is like there's just not a need for it. And of course, first and foremost, I don't think that I personally follow the opinion that it's not allowed. Now I know that some people say that's extreme, but that's how I see it. Anyway, that was a sidetrack. But the reason why I've gotten this type of question before too, and it's super sweet because I'm like, guys, I'm kind of like, I'm happy you think I got that personality, but I don't know if I don't know how comfortable I would be with that. Anyway, we sidetracked. Let's go to another one. So this one says, wanting to fight oppression in our society, but feeling hopeless at the same time. This one's beautiful. Here's the thing about this. There's always a limit in what's in our hands, but there's never a limit in what Allah is capable of doing. So the way that I go about this is like, it's devastating. Like when you see videos and clips and you just see what's going on around the world, it's heartbreaking without fail. And of course, with whatever's in your hands to do to prevent that injustice from continuing to happen, you should do in whatever means that might be, right? There is very little sacrifice that comes on our end as compared to the people that are living through that oppression every single day. And I know that you guys like hate, I know most people hate hearing like, oh, the most powerful thing we have is dua. I know people hate hearing that. But one of the biggest like mindset switches that I really had this last year and even upcoming is like, how growing up we always hear people say, oh, the only thing you can do is, make dua, or we can just make dua. And I feel like the terms here are a little odd. Like when people say the only thing we can do is make dua, the only thing, as if it's like a limiting thing and it's something constricting and it's like something that isn't that powerful. Or like, we can just make dua. Like, oh, on a lower scale, that's the only thing we can do, right? But I feel like I've really been thinking about the power of dua, especially like these last couple years. Like I've really been reflecting on it. And I believe very wholeheartedly that when you raise your hands to Allah to ask Him for anything, there's no way that, He isn't going to hear you. There's going to be a response, and that response, in accordance to whatever time is best, will occur. And the beauty of all the du'as that don't get answered is that on the Day of Judgment, of course, there will be good deeds on your scale. So when it comes in the light of oppression, and it comes in light of these things, I always strongly believe that it's important for us, most of us living in comfortable homes, having, an easy life. The biggest worries in our life is, oh, I have to go to work and I have school and I have an exam. Like, people like us that are living in such comfort, you know, what we really should be doing is, of course, putting in those efforts on a societal level that we can do to make a dent, to get, more, I guess you could say, to get more attention on how this certain oppression is happening and also how it can be avoided and, raising awareness on it. But especially waking up in the last third of the night, praying tahajjud and making dua for our brothers and sisters around the world that are being oppressed. Because the reality here is this, is that unfortunately, I know some people might not like what I'm about to say. Unfortunately, we put all of our efforts in every domain except the domain of making dua and praying to Allah. And this is where our problem lies, because sometimes we believe that these other domains and in our own actions is where we'll find success. And that's kind of like the greatest caveat, because success doesn't come except through Allah and from Allah's help. And so when we get so fixated on just our own doings, and we're simultaneously doing things that are earning the displeasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then there's a big problem at hand that we need to focus on. So I believe firmly that dua is a very powerful tool, and I know that sometimes when you hear things like this, it just makes you feel limited and you want to do more. But what you have is a direct connection with Allah, and I don't know what could be more powerful than that, right? So definitely invest yourself and invest your time in making more dua and, waking up for tahajjud, and most importantly, doing whatever's in your hand on a societal level and doing whatever's in your hand on a personal level, holding yourself accountable, earning the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, striving for His sake, and, making dua that Allah allows all of the ummah around the world that is going through oppression in different ways to be relieved from it, and of course to reap the rewards of it, not just in this life but in the next life for all that they endured. But a lot of it also comes in regards to, like I said, doing whatever you can on a societal level, but also doing whatever you can on an individual level to recidify your affairs between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to strive your best within your own individual accountability, and working to recidify yourself, working to make more dua during this, time of hardship, and striving to wake up for tahajjud, striving to gain that closer relationship with Allah. There is a lesson in everything around us, and if we don't take the lesson that we're supposed to gain from it, we've lost track of the plot. We've lost track of what we're supposed to do. I hope I kind of answered that correctly. I kind of went off on a tangent. I don't know. There's definitely a lot more that I can say on that topic, but I hope it kind of made sense. The next one says how to control your anger issues. This is a good one. This one that I feel like one of the things about anger that really reels me back in is you have to think about why you're angry. 99.9% of the time, it's a dunya thing. It's usually something someone did, someone didn't do this, whatever. It's usually a dunya thing. A lot of times when you focus on why you're angry and you take a step back and you breathe, you'll realize this is a dunya thing. Hold on, why does this have so much control over me? The way that I learned to manage anger as I wouldn't say I'm a retired crash out girl, because I'm not, but the way that I used to get angry was I used to just what did I used to do? I was never the type I've never really been the type to get angry. I know some people that get angry to slam things, turn things upside down, scream and yell. When I get angry, I just cry a good bit, just start shedding tears. But even coming out from that, the way that I learned to not really feel angry was not necessarily teaching myself in the moments when I was angry, right? Because what are you going to learn then? But teaching myself in the moments that I wasn't angry. The best way to handle your anger issues, in my opinion, is to come down to the root of it all, that in some way, shape, or form, there's a certain level to some dunya-related thing that you are attached to. Now, not all attachments are bad, but if something is making you act out and you're crashing out, tweaking out, everything above, there's a problem. There's a problem. I get it. It's totally normal to feel angry sometimes about the way that someone treats you. It's totally normal to feel angry at people, right? And I think majority of the time people's anger issues is regarding people. It's regarding what someone did do, what someone didn't do, how someone talked to them, how someone treated them. Majority of anger issues are usually related to someone and what they did or didn't do or said and or didn't say, right? I want you to take what I'm saying right now and just really listen to it for a second. If you've been zoning out this entire podcast, that's a-okay. I really want you to listen to this, okay? This one thing that I'm about to tell you changed my life when it came in regards to people, when it came in regards to anger, when it came in regards to love, when it came in regards to everything related to relationships. Now, this might be a little bit of a harder and harsher approach. However, this allowed me, and I'll explain it more, but this allowed me to maintain happier, healthier relationships where there's more mercy, more barakat, more love between all of them, and also allowed me to maintain more long-term relationships, and most importantly, allowed me, if I haven't mentioned this already, have that healthy love in a relationship between my family, friends, whatever, okay? Here's what I want you to listen to. Again, this might be harsh, but I want you to remember that people are still dunya, okay? Your relationships are still dunya. And I know that sounds really harsh, but here's the thing. A lot of times we look at people that have a lot of, attachment to worldly things from like money and houses and cars and like a lifestyle and things like that. And you look at them and you think, oh my God, I'm not attached to dunya like that. I don't have that. Well, maybe your attachment is people. And this is definitely hard because when you look at people, you always think about, establishing a very beautiful relationship with them for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and thriving in that. And of course, that's absolutely true. And those are the relationships that'll actually benefit and take care of your akhirat. And of course, help you in this life and the next, right? But how many of those relationships do you have in your life? How many people can you really say you love for the sake of Allah and they love you for the sake of Allah? And that's another discussion. But when it comes to people, you'll notice that sometimes people will be so fixated on what someone did, on what someone didn't do, on what someone said, on what someone didn't say. People are still a part of this dunya and you are going to leave them. And some people have an insane attachment to people. And you look at people in this life that have an obsession to money and cars and luxury and all these different things. And a lot of times us as Muslims, we're like, oh my God, how do people have attachment to these worldly things while we're simultaneously attached to people and relationships and chasing these different ideas, or like an odd attachment and obsession with something coming true in our lives in a way where we think we can't go on if it doesn't happen. Attachment it leads to a lot of suffering. Now, not all attachment's bad, right? There's healthy attachment, there's healthy relationships. And I'll tell you, for like on a personal level, I love. Like I always tell my friends, like I love love. I love all kinds of it. Like I love my family. I dearly love them. I love all my friends. Like I've always been the type of person that I love people. I really do. Like I have my days where I'm like super extrovert and then I have those days where I'm like really quiet. And I get a mix of both every week. But I would say on a general level, I love people. I think that people are just, it's so incredible to see human beings and meet different people and see all the stories and all the things that makes them them. Like I just love hearing about it, right? Like I love people. But I knew that was going to wreck me, and at a time in my life it did, if I became fixated and attached to them in a negative way. So it did take a lot of unlearning, and I had to start looking at things a little bit more objectively and understanding that, while you might love this person, while you might love your family, they're still a part of this dunya, and you're going to leave them. So establish a good relationship with them, a relationship that, of course, inshallah, will benefit you in the akhirat. But don't lose sight of the real purpose here. Because sometimes people love people so much and they're so attached to people and the relationships in their life that they start to do things that are displeasurable to Allah. And that's where I feel like it's really important to, round back in and remind yourself that, hold on, this is still a dunya thing. So when it comes to anger, coming back to what we were initially talking about, a lot of anger does stem from that. It stems from I guess you could say more like expectations from people. And, obviously there's some type of relationship, there's something that's kind of making you upset and mad. And I want you to understand that human beings are forever going to make mistakes. Okay? You're not going to meet anyone that's going to be perfect. Your family's not perfect. You're not perfect. You might say, oh my God, this person gives me a headache. And someone might talk about you and say, God, she gives me a migraine. Right? So here's the thing. You're not perfect. They're not perfect. And it's very easy to lash out in anger and have that be like the predominant emotion and just be fixated on what someone didn't do or how someone messed up. It's very easy to do that. But you have to step back and look that even the Prophet, peace be upon him, was nice to the people that basically made everything hard for him in every way. And if he can restrain his anger and come to them, still continuously doing tawbah, and come to them in a kind way, then I definitely think me and you can, right? Because I'm pretty sure the person next to you that hurt you didn't do anything that was at that level of extreme. And just in light of things, if you are angry about something not going your way or something not working out, here's the thing also about this. There's a lot of anger at first, and I've talked about this endlessly on my podcast, but there really there's always a better reason why something didn't happen. And it took a lot of years of my life to actually say that with my chest. You always hear people say like, oh, if Allah takes something, gives you something better, and everything is good for the believer. And you're like, yeah, uh-huh. But how deeply do you sit there and think about it? Think about it. Think about the things that went wrong in your life and how they turned around today. A lot of times when things go wrong, you expect like something to go right in that same domain. But something else can happen in your life. Maybe you can, have the doors open of something else that you were desperately chasing for, but you're fixated on what you lost. The way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts barakah and rizq and just answers your du'as in your life happens in very different ways. And we don't really understand those ways, but we understand who Allah is. And so with that light, try to know that even if you don't understand the decisions that are occurring in your life, if you don't understand why something is happening, then at least understand who is the one that's making it happen. And I promise through that you will find a lot more peace than being fixated on why me or why this, why didn't it happen. Let it go. Some other things about just managing your anger. I think that one that I just shared with you be like figuring out the root cause of it all. And oftentimes you'll see it might lead you to attachment. The second thing that I'd say is really reflecting on your behavior post anger breakouts, right? Like if you had a really big anger breakout, you lashed out, really reflect on your behavior. Don't just sit here and try to justify it. It doesn't take you far. You just end up becoming very, very stubborn and not in a good way. And that's not what you want to do. You don't want to be a person that's constantly debating, that's stubborn, that's like, oh, you got 2 things to say? Well, I got 4. Please. We're growing old. We're becoming geriatric. Spare us. Last thing I want to do. And listen, I'm a yapper. Like, I think y'all can tell. I love to talk. But the last thing I want to deal with is somebody who's like constantly just debating and fighting and justifying and angry and Sir, you gonna give me a migraine. You give me a painkiller on the way out. Like, spare me. I'm too old for this at this point. Like, I'm 21. I'm feeling pretty old, okay? Feeling like my back is already giving in on me. Don't bother me. And when it comes to that reflex thing that I mentioned earlier, reflecting on your behavior post anger. I always think that journaling and writing down and thinking about what made you angry, what triggered you is always helpful because then you can avoid it. I also think increasing in dhikr, especially in the moments where you feel like you might start to get angry. I think that's helpful because it helps you restrain and kind of pull back. Of course, doing wudu, praying to rakas, that's always helpful. One of the things that I like to do when I'm stressed, and I've talked about this before, nothing crazy, not like when I'm super, again, like I don't really get raged and angry, alhamdulillah, and that's a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because, I feel other emotions like crashing out on other departments. So don't worry, I'm not trying to say that like I'm perfect. No, absolutely not. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the reality of everyone, and we all have flaws. We all have things that are not, perfect about us. But anyway, so one of the things that I like to do when I get like a little stressed and, or not really stressed, I just like to drive straight for a long time. Like just get in my car and just drive straight, 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 straight. I think that's always nice. Or just go somewhere, like go to the grocery store. I don't know why. Guys, there's this grocery store near my house. It's 3 minutes. If you like, I'm like, I hope no one I know sees me here because no, that wouldn't be good. But I'm like, the employees know me. The employees know me. Matter of fact, I know the people that come in the morning with the truck and they like set up everything. I go to that grocery store real often. Okay? And sometimes I don't even be needing anything. I'm gonna be honest. Like, oh, I need a gallon of milk. Like, I can get that tomorrow. I can get that some other day. But in reality, I just do it to kind of get out and clear my head. Just go on a drive. And honestly, I feel like everyone needs a comfort grocery store that they drive to when they're just like stressed out or angry and just like buy a singular item and come back. I promise you. If you're judging me right now, pause this podcast and go do it. And then we'll talk. I'm telling you, there's just something about it. Works every time. The other thing that I think is also helpful is, I know y'all gonna hate me for saying this, but going to the gym really helps. And I know there's someone out there's like, oh, shut up. No, but really, like going to the gym helps, bro. It helps you. It helps your hormones. It helps you look better, feel better, do better, act better. Get all that pent out energy out. You just feel better, bro. You feel so much better. Like, go to the gym. Go to the gym. Going to the gym is so good for you. It really is. Working out is so good for you. Okay? If you don't like going to the gym, you don't like working out, just go to the store and buy yourself a jump rope, my dog. Like, lock the door. Lock the door. Ain't nobody gotta know you jumping rope in your bedroom. Go ahead. We all do it sometimes. It's fine. Like, do something. Cardio. Run. Walk. Do something for me. Walking really don't. Go on a walk. That's helpful too. Do something. Like, you gotta get that built up energy out. Going to the gym, like really exercising. Get that built up energy out. And if you don't exercise, like maybe the first 2 weeks you'll hate it. You're like, I'm not into this. But then stay consistent and you'll start to love it. I'm telling you. And the way you sleep at night after you go to the gym, oh yes, that needs to be investigated. Because you be tucked in with like 2 blankets, sleeping, catching Z's, no melatonin needed tonight. I'm good. Like, it's a different level of sleep when you go to the gym. So just get all that energy out. And then, of course, like I said, ultimately, the first and most important thing, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes it easy for you. Of course, that goes unsaid. But I will mention that make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes it easy for you. Because the way you might struggle with anger, you might not struggle with something else, but someone struggles with something else. We all have things that we struggle in, things that we're good at, and we want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help, of course, in making it easier to overcome those, bad characteristics. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for you and to allow you to gain a control over your anger, and most importantly, work on your anger issues, your triggers, and work on being in a more calmer state of mind when you're not angry, and make like certain coping mechanisms and certain things that when time comes, they kind of hit in like a reflex, and you kind of know what to withdraw to when you know that really big anger attack is starting to build up. I'm going to answer one more question for this episode, and it actually happens to be one that is a little too close to home. How to not let your focus on worldly studies slip away while you're working on your deen. So, here's the thing. Everything, I know that when you hear this, it's really hard to process. But everything you do is an act of ibadat if there's that intention behind it. So a lot of us are consumed in worldly studies, and it comes to a point where it's draining and you feel bad because you're not doing enough for your deen, and days go by and you could be super productive in like your worldly studies, but you won't feel productive because you're not productive in your deen. That's like, that might be a niche hero problem, but anyway. Definitely, I get it. It's really hard, but one of the things that I really centered myself around when it comes in regards to worldly goals and worldly studies, because of course, like that's the whole purpose that, a lot of us are going to school. Don't chase results, chase deeds. So see everything as an extension to do a good deed. Like going to class to learn about, the human body. Okay, I'm sitting here to learn about Allah's creation. So that's a good deed. I'm going to go chase that good deed. Today I'm going to go take an exam, a whole 3-hour exam. Might not enjoy it, might be mind-numbing. Maybe I'm really stressed out for it. I spent days and days prior studying for it. So I'm going to take those study days as a way to chase good deeds because I'm sitting here, doing something for Allah's sake. Even if it's not like you're not studying, Allah's creation, you're studying something else, whatever. Like I'm learning something, a skill that I can use to contribute to the ummah, inshallah, in a beneficial way. And that's a good deed that I'm trying to chase. And then on exam day, you tell yourself when you wake up in the morning that, oh, okay, I'm going to go take this exam today. This is a good deed I want to do. This might, inshallah, excel me in contributing to the ummah, contributing to my family, contributing to just doing good and improving my life. And of course, the more stable you are in your own life, the more stable you are just in your day-to-day, the more you can contribute to the ummah, the more you can contribute to your family, the more you can contribute even to yourself, and the more, circumstances to some degree are easier. So in a way, you see it as an extension of, working to build a life that inshallah, will help support you and your family, and inshallah your future children, and inshallah maybe even your parents, whatever your circumstances, but it's going to benefit and help people. It isn't about fixating yourself on a result that I have to graduate, or that I have to get this GPA, or that I have to pass this exam. Don't get fixated on results, because when you get fixated on results, that's where like that crippling anxiety comes in. That's when you start to think, oh, I'm not smart enough, I can't do this is too much, I'm overwhelmed. That's when complaining starts to come in. And I think that a lot of us don't think and don't reflect on how lucky we are that we get the opportunity to study, as we talked earlier in this episode about oppression and stuff like that. But we don't reflect on how lucky we are to study, to wake up every day, to go to classes, for our biggest worry to be an exam, for our, greatest stressor to be that I have to do good on this exam. You're studying, in the comfort of your home. Yeah, maybe, might have some hardships, there might be some things going on, it might not be ideal, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted you the ability to increase yourself in knowledge. And that's something that I want you to think about. You're sitting in a position, in a seat where a lot of people would want to be. And one of the things that just breaks my heart, and it just destroys me low-key, like I think about this at night, is that like I think about how like I have a podcast and how I talk about Deen, but there's probably someone else out there in the world who could probably talk way better than I can, who can probably move your heart and has a better intention, has a better niyat, and has a better relationship with Allah than I ever will. And the only thing that made us different is where Allah put us. That's the only thing that made us different, right? Like if they are someone that is, in times of oppression, like, obviously can barely access basic resources by far, do dawah, do things among that nature at that time in their life. Like it's just something that I think about. Like same thing comes with like studies and worldly studies and things like that. Like, I might be sitting in this seat working super hard, grinding, trying to get good grades, trying to do something, maybe even work in like a position where I'm helping people, or I'm contributing to the ummah at large. But there is just someone out there that would probably do it far better than I would, and is probably far more deserving than I am. And the only thing that makes us different is just where Allah put us. It's just what Allah had allowed. And that's like a guilt that I think about a lot. Because when you think about it, you realize that you become super complacent in life. Like a lot of us have become super complacent, where you think that you are privileged and, every minor inconvenience is a complaint and everything angers you and everything tweaks you out and everything is, such a stressor and oh my God. I had this long class today and it was so aggravating. It was so useless. The professor went on about nothing. Oh, that was such a waste of my time. And like there's people in parts of the world that would just strive and give it all to be in your position. And I guess like I went off on a tangent. I guess this is like something that just like kind of keeps me up at night because like I know that a lot of the blessings that I have, even just like having a nice home, having a family, treating people, the good relationships in my life, I'll be the first to say that I don't think that I'm like a perfect person at all by any means. And I think that there's many, many, many people in the world that would do far better than me if they were given the opportunities that I was in. And the only thing that made us different is life chances, or Allah put us, qadar. And that's something that keeps me up at night. And I think that a lot of times we've become complacent with the privileges that we've had in our life and the privileges we continue to receive. And in the midst of all the privileges, we still find a way to complain. It's one of those things that as I talk about it, it's just like it gets to my throat. Like I don't know. It's one of those things that just makes it hard. And that's why I think that it's important to not get fixated on results. For that reason. I mean, I think that a lot of times, when you talk about focusing on your deen, you have to remember that like this is dunya, and to be in this dunya, like there's certain things you have to do, right? Like you have to kind of get a job, get yourself up on your feet. You have to get an education, maybe not, depends how you feel about all that. But like, you kind of got to do something, got to sustain yourself to go throughout this life. A lot of times people are like, when I finish this, I'll focus on my deen. There's never going to be an optimal time in your life when you're not going to have anything to do and you are just going to focus on your deen. Like even after you graduate, post-grad, you might get married. Next thing you know, you got like 3 kids. And now you got to raise those 3 kids. And you got, your man coming home and he's like, what's for dinner? Like, now you in the kitchen and now you're taking care of them kids. Nothing wrong with that, of course. It's totally fine. But then, like, that's another thing that now is on your plate, And of course, it's a beautiful blessing, right? Nothing wrong with that. But my point of mentioning that is like it's another thing. Then now you have a family, you got to take care of the home, you got to do these different things. Maybe you chose to continue to work. Like there's always going to be something going on, always. You can't be like, when I finish this, then I'll go to my deen. You have to learn how to integrate your deen in small ways throughout your life. And when you are especially really like intense, rigorous, like academic studies, it becomes really hard because you barely have the time to breathe. You barely have the time to like decompress. And that little bit of energy you have every day, you have to give it towards your schoolwork. So then you feel guilty. You're not doing enough for your deen. I get it. It's a vicious cycle. But one of the things I want you to at least start doing today, right now, is stop being fixated on results. Chase good deeds. Chase good deeds. And look at the privileges you have and be grateful for them every day. These are things that are going to constantly keep you connected to Allah. The goal is to go through this life worshiping Him, constantly being connected to Him, constantly remembering Him, right? You don't want to just be someone who does worship in vain and completely forgets Allah in all your other affairs. Integrate this remembrance of this deen in all your affairs. Worship Him. Make time to pray your 5 prayers. Never let that go. Never let that go. Never, never, never. I know sometimes when you're like studying and it's a bunch going on in your life, you're like, I don't have time to pray. This in front of you right now can become a test. The same thing that can elevate you, that can help you contribute to the ummah at large and help you just raise your ranks, could become a test very easily. Integrate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and this deen within all that you do. No one is living in an ideal world where, you come in and your room's perfectly clean and you have a candle lit and you got your prayer mat out and all day you're just doing ibadat, right? You might have some of those days in your life. That's not every day, right? And of course, as Muslims, we should strive, again, like I said, to contribute to the ummah at large, but also help and, get into powerful positions where we can make change and help things happen for our brothers and sisters around the world and just in general, to contribute in a better manner. And on the day-to-day scale, it might not feel like that, and you might feel like it's too much, but remember the bigger picture that we're chasing good deeds. We're chasing something that inshallah will help us in our akhirat. So that's one thing I'll tell you. The next thing I'll tell you is try your best to make time in your everyday where it's just you and Allah, right? For me, that time is like early morning time, right? That's when I like to read Quran. That's when I like to do dhikr. That's when I like to do a lot of those things. You gotta find that time. You have to make like that time somewhere in the day, even if it's between classes. If it's like, oh, at 12 I get off. I remember me and one of my friends, we used to do this thing where between classes, this was a couple of years back, we had a break around 12, and so we used to do salawat and dhikr and stuff around 12. Like that would be our time. We'd meet up and do that together. So you gotta find the time. It's not easy, even if it's 15 minutes. Whatever you do, make sure it's of good quality and it, helps you get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, stay very, very firm on those 5 prayers. Never let that go. Never let that go. Okay? Remember the bigger picture at large, and don't get in your head about it. You're doing something great, inshallah, and inshallah you'll contribute to the ummah in a good way. I mean, inshallah, you go on the Day of Judgment, all the hours and times that you've spent studying will be good deeds on your scale. And of course, as you progress and go through life, you learn how to kind of gauge your schedule better. Some things come off, some things add on. But all in all, the important thing is to constantly have that time every day where it's just you and Allah. I hope I kind of made sense. If I said anything wrong in any of my responses, I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives me, and I'm so sorry if I did. This is like low-key late night talks, guys, so I do sometimes be on like 1.5 brain cells. Won't hold you. Anyway, I hope something I said was beneficial and y'all liked it. Yeah, let me know if you have any other topics for late night talks. This was from one of my IG stories. I will be recording another episode soon with some of my responses that I didn't cover and also some new ones. So please take care of yourself. Have a great rest of your day. Assalamu alaikum.